what you delineated so far, what you've outlined so far, is a transportation system and urban development which has been skewed in favor of the rich, the powerful, the elite.
Yes.
Are you seeing this same segment now becoming a little more responsive to the needs of the majority and the requirements of the majority? You know, this whole, I mean, as is epitomized is this whole public versus private transport business, you know. I mean, it's only now that we see decent buses in the city.
Yeah, true.
So are we seeing some changes?
I think a lot actually. Now, I mean, even in the last 1 year or 1.5 years that I've spent here, I've seen a drastic change. And I think it's happened due to several forces that have come into play together, several voices that have come from various fields. And I actually, you know, most of the senior bureaucrats I'm interacting with, they are so visionary, so progressive in their thinking.
But how do you ensure that their vision, their
continues?
No, not only continues, those projects are implemented and implemented efficiently without corruption.
Yeah, that is where I was saying that the middle order augmentation is needed, because it's okay to have a visionary, it's okay to have all the good things written in policies. India has one of the best climate change policies written. But do we even know what that policy is and who is implementing it? The National Urban Transport Policy actually talks about all the things that I mentioned today. But who is there to implement that
So
even in detail?
How do we change that system? I mean, we are great in planning and in framing policies. We are lousy at implementing them. There's just such a huge gap between, you know, policy and implementation.
Yes, in my personal experience, I can only talk from a planning and design standpoint, that we need more fresh people, young people to come in. And I'm not saying that the earlier planners were not good, but it's just that they are, you know, the government has this way of hiring and then keeping them for the next 30 years. So, but the lateral entry of young professionals into the government is very difficult.
Okay.
And that is the problem. Making working in the government attractive for young, talented people who want to change the city.
All right, done.
Is what is needed.
The last word now from you. Let's summarize everything you've said. Give us in a few bullet points the big issues, the big picture. When you look at this megapolis called Delhi, Lily, don't be silly. You're hotter than a red chili ever since you started living in Delhi. No, tell us what now needs to be done. The big message, the big issues. Summarize them for the benefit of those who've been listening to you, watching you.
Well, as for transit-oriented development, or TOD as we call it, is concerned, I think Delhi needs a few very major policy shifts. One is that we need to look at all policy shifts that help the purchase of buses, the augmentation of public transportation in the city. That has to be the primary focus. That
benefits the overwhelming majority, the 85% of the population.
And even more than that, actually. To be honest, out of the 14% population that is using cars, actually it's probably just 4 or 5% which is totally addicted to it. The rest are using it because they have no other choice. So let's give that 10%, let's forget about the 4% elite, let's give that 10% a better choice. That is the first focus.
And in giving them a better choice, you will also give a better choice to the 80%.
Absolutely, yeah. So there has to be a variety of, a spectrum of choices. So I know many people criticize metro, but okay, if a person cannot afford the metro, there are people who can afford the metro. And it's fine, you know, it's good to have a variety of public transportation modes so that, you know, people can choose what they want to use. So that is the first thing. The second thing needed is
Are you going to change the mindset that people have to subsidizing urban transport? There's a huge mindset of people who don't think urban transport should be subsidized to the tune it has, to the extent it has.
Well, public transport, there's something called direct subsidy from tax money, and there's something called cross subsidy. I don't think it is possible to not subsidize public transport. You cannot let the ticket price bring you profit or make you break even. It's just not possible, because this is like, public transport is like air and water. You have to give it to people. But there are ways of cross subsidizing it. You know, you can use advertising techniques, so you can use TOD actually is a very good cross subsidy, because if you have higher density, more people, more development happening next to public transport, then that brings you revenue for augmenting your public transport. So these are all issues that will help the funding of, I mean, our focus has to be on this. I think there is nothing.
Okay, so you are very clear
yeah.
that we have to have a major paradigm shift. We have to change focus. We have to shift focus to providing transit-oriented development to the majority of those who live in India's capital.
Yes.
Romi, thank you so much for coming here to the studio of Lok Sabha Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching and hearing an excellent exposition on what needs to be done to ensure transit-oriented development in Delhi and the National Capital Region. Thank you for being with us.